Every week, players gather at their local game stores. They trade, and they battle valiantly for both fun and glory. But amidst their triumph, only two will make it to the finals to fight. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Final Fights. Tonight, Doflamingo versus Blackbeard. They're both currently 4-0 out of a 5-rounder at my local game store, and good old Dofi versus Blackbeard in the finals. Dofi did end up winning the die roll, decided to go second, take Blackbeard off its preferred curve. Blackbeard gonna go ahead and swing 6k, take a life off Doflamingo, and good old Doc Q, and then a pitch for leader ability. Just gonna immediately start shutting down on plays, probably from here to the end of the game here, as you never want Doflamingo to have a turn to start to establish board, so stopping anything like a Weevil here or a potential Jinbei. Very strong for Blackbeard. Blackbeard pretty unfavored in this matchup. Doflamingo does tend to go pretty wide pretty quickly, but we'll see how Blackbeard can navigate through this matchup here. Gonna go ahead and swing 6k at lead here. Doflamingo is currently at 4 life. Already took one off of a 6b before. Getting a glance at the hand, no 2Ks in hand, ends up having to use 2 1Ks. And that Doc Q going to potentially be a way to clean some stuff up. We're going to get a kill spell off the top there. I think that's Black Hole. And then going to pitch another kill spell for the leader effect. Going to go back to good old Dofi's turn here. Dofi not feeling too hot at the moment. Doesn't even have a way to start putting things into play off the top of the deck. Definitely needs some way to see the top, but against Blackbeard, you're never going to have that opportunity, as all your on plays are going to be negated for the entire turn. So Doflamingo just hoping that a good old Weevil can stick between turns so they can start pressuring 7Ks into lead here. Blackbeard known for not having too much 2K counters in the deck. I think on average they run about 7 to 8, but going up to the good old 7 Dawn turn here, playing the Von Augur tap minus Doc Q KO, and that is one Weevil gone, another Weevil gone, and Doflamingo going back to their turn completely out of forces on board. Gonna have to keep pressuring the opponent's life total here, because once they kind of get to that 12 Dawn turn, that 10 Dawn turn, life's gonna get a whole lot harder. But because Doflamingo did end up going second here, gonna be one more turn extra before we're gonna see any good old Blackbeards come into play here. Opponent just full on 8k swing into Van Augur, and then rips a bow off the top. Boa does not again have an on play because of the Blackbeard effect. Plays another bow out, so we got 2 potential threats on board. If Blackbeard deals with him this turn, it's going to be a lot harder going into Doflamingo's next turn. Blackbeard maybe a little incentivized to deal with the boa here, especially the one tapped, and potentially establishing some kind of character on board. Opponent looks at the top 5. There's a Burgess among those, but also a Burgess in hand. I think Blackbeard would really like to set up a Burgess this turn as well, as it starts to get a little harder when you just have good old 10 drops out and nothing to really apply pressure. Those 10 drops are going to be definitely trying to protect life as much as possible against all these swings, as Blackbeard's hand's going to continue to go down as he continues to discard a leader ability. We're going to go ahead and see a good old 10 drop teach. Is that a manga? Is he flexing on us? That is a manga. I think there's 2 in hand. Yes, indeed, this Blackbeard player has manga'd out his teaches. I think he has a playset of all 4. Pretty swanky. Gonna go ahead and send a 7k into the boa. Exactly what I thought was gonna happen. We're gonna just try to apply some pressure on boa while we can, and then we're gonna play out a Burgess. Again, Burgess being one of the best plays before you start slamming down the 10 drops teaches. We've got 2 in hand so far. Definitely more to come potentially. No stage, just because it looks like not really a turn to kind of play the stage. I think I ended up talking to this player in last night, and he kind of said that stage against aggro decks just isn't the play, because stage will always just take you down 1 additional card. Whereas instead you could just use that to pitch to teach his ability. Pretty interesting insight, pretty awesome player. But good old Dofi swinging 5k gets a clean up there. We're gonna see some aggression on the board here, kind of clean up these Lafittes. These Lafittes will just continue to be searching on the off Blackbeard turns. But yeah, it's nice for good old Blackbeard here, and just gonna play out 2 Jinbeis. Not the most exciting of plays here. Jinbei usually puts something else in play, but again, Blackbeard's ability shutting off the on plays. Bo's gonna swing at 8k here. We're gonna get a trigger out of life. That's a finger pistol, one of the best cards you can see out of life in this moment, especially in this matchup. Cleaning up the other boa here. Going back to good old Blackbeard's turn. We are at 10 Dawn. This is the turn to start slapping down the big boys. But we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to continue to deal with board here. We're going to see a Van Augur into a Doc Q, cleaning up the Jinbei. And then a good old big old 8k swing into Good old bow here. Only 2 cards in Doflamingo's hand. If Doflamingo had a 2k, 1k, definitely wouldn't have used it at this point, because going 0 cards in hand with no on plays does feel pretty bad here. Gonna see instead an extra flex. Blackbeard going into the yard off of leader ability here. Yeah, just throw that manga in the trash there. And go back to Doflamingo's turn. Doflamingo, 2 threats on board, but we have in a pretty bad spot right now. 3 cards in hand, 3 cards in life. We've got a good old Burgess coming down. Burgess gonna be swinging pretty hard. I think I saw a Perfume Femur in hand, so if Doflamingo can just keep trying to focus life total here, could potentially get through these blockers here, but so many characters on board at this point. And that Jesus Burgess is definitely not going to be going away anytime soon. So this is kind of a tough spot. I think so. This video will be releasing, I think, when the ban list is announced. And I have no idea, and I'm recording this the day before, so I'm going to go ahead and throw out my random speculations while this Doflamingo thinks here. I think potentially 2-cost Teach might get banned out of Doflamingo. Bandai could also just ban the leader. They've shown us a track record before of just banning leaders and giving us crappier versions. That could just happen. We're going to go see an 8k swing into Valnagr. Valnagr's going to take it, going to draw, Teach another card here. And looks like going for the board control route. Might try to set up another body and then swing maybe like an 8k at lead or something, or an 8k at something else on the field. Cleaning up that dot Q might be worth doing, just because our opponents continuously use that to knock out things on our board here. Setting aside, looks like 6 Dawn here could be playing out a Jozu, potentially. Jozu does get around some of those more infamous kill spells in the Blackbeard deck, but also might be thinking about stacking a bunch of Dawn on Doflamingo. Speaking of bannings, I kind of want to see Stage go from Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard's going to be a little oppressive in the next meta, especially if they end up hitting Dofi, as Dofi's kind of one of the ways to keep it in check. If Blackbeard ends up being top dog, we're definitely going to see a whole lot more aggro decks, things like Yamato, Zoro, things like that. But they get Liberation, I think is what a card next set, which is going to make the aggro matches even harder. I think opponents can just set aside a activation of leader, maybe leaving 4 Dawn up to play something else out of hand. And this is not easy here. Counting up the amount of 2Ks in the yard here. I think only 2 2Ks right now. So I think opponents really trying to hope that this goes through. We're going to set up a huge swing here. If we're feeling a pudding, going to clean up the Jesus Burgess. Blackbeard player does not have enough to counter out of it here. And going to go back to good old Teach's turn here. He's got it looks like another finger pistol in hand. But is this the final turn to start slamming down the big old Blackbeard here? Gonna go and swing 5k into good old Jinbei. Gonna get countered with another Jinbei. And then we're gonna see good old Teach come down. Teach is pretty much starting to slam the door on Doflamingo now. As Doflamingo just wasn't able to keep a board going long enough to use it to pressure down Blackbeard here. It would also be nice if they, speaking of bans, it would also be nice if they leader restricted Gecko Moria. That'd be pretty neat. I'd love to see Bandai play with other ways of dealing with cards instead of just banning cards or restricting cards. The opponent just going for the cleanup on good old Doc Q. The opponent could have definitely just blocked that, but decides not to. And we're gonna see two 2Ks coming to hand as bodies on board here, just trying to go a little wide. Looks like not another Teach in hand, but opponent does have a bit of removal as well here. So could use that to try to clean up some of the bigger bodies on board. Teach is obviously going to be sitting as a potential blocker for right now. But it would have not been nice to potentially slam down another one here. But now Teach bit in the tank here. Gonna have to think what they want to do for 4 cost here. We're gonna see a good old finger pistol. Finger pistol is gonna clean up one of the 5k bodies here, and then opponent's got 6 Dawn to work with. Gonna go ahead and just send it at lead. Might as well just start pecking down Doflamingo's life here. Gonna activate leader ability again. We're gonna see that every single turn. Blackbeard cannot give Doflamingo a turn to breathe. They need to not be able to use their own plays. Half those cards in opponent's hand are dead. There is a vanilla 6k Gecko Moria in hand, which we might see come down this specific turn. That Trafalgar Law 2k being a 4k feels real bad right here, as opponent's going to have to attach them down to it just to even swing face. Opponent's going to swing 5k, going to get a 1k counter. Opponent's got 9 more Dawn to work with. Might just see a 7k potentially come in here. I think, if anything, opponent could be able to shave off 1 life of Blackbeard here. Blackbeard's still sitting at 3 life, though. Pretty unfortunate. Gonna see a 7k swing go into lead here. Gonna get just an easy block off of good old Blackbeard, and we're gonna see a 7k swing go into lead. We're gonna see an activation. We end up hitting a Weevil. Weevil again, no on place here, and we're gonna see a trigger come off life. My era begins. Top 3. Grab your favorite card. Looks like a kill spell of Von Augur and a 2k. I might just pick up the kill. Spell here, as he doesn't have another Blackbeard in hand. If he had a Blackbeard in hand, would have definitely added the 2k hand, but a little bit of telegraphing potentially for the Dofi player to pick up on. Doesn't have another Blackbeard, but does have more kill spells in the hand here. Doflamingo doing what he does best, starting to go wide here in the late game. Blackbeard doesn't have enough to finish yet. Needs at least one more turn of maybe a good swing on lead, but at this point might have to start dealing with the board. Blackbeard blocker can only block one thing, and Blackbeard's hand is getting pretty tiny here, so we might have to hope for a miracle out of life as well. We've already seen a few triggers come out of life. There could be a few more in there, but Blackbeard a bit in the tank here. Do you think Gum Gum Giant might get banned? It's possible it could get restricted to 1. It's doing some nonsense for some of the purple X Luffy decks in the Japanese format. I can't wait for global release. I don't know if you saw that. Global release this next year. We're going to finally be synced up with Japan. No longer shall we salivate on sets that are 2 sets ahead. Opponent's just swinging pretty heavy here into lead. Just going to take it. Going to use that removal spell to clean up the Weevil. Going to then play out a blocker. Got 2 blockers and an activation. 0 cards in hand. Good old Blackbeard's going hellbent here. And Doflamingo feeling pretty good right now. Again, Doflamingo still got some work in hands. No teaching to teach. We're going to see a 5k swing go. It's going to trigger. We're going to trigger and draw 2 cards. What is that card? That is a fun tech. I believe that is a trigger, draw 2, and a way to KO a stage or a character that costs 0. Fun little card, I believe, from OP09. Looks like this Blackbeard's been teching it. It says it helps him in matches like the mirror match to clean up the opponent's stage. But also just that trigger off of life, pretty darn good. And putting 2 cards in hand, gonna start making Doflamingo think a little harder here. And now we have to kind of knock the opponent down to try to knock them down to 0 and try to survive this next turn. This is gonna be really tough here. It would be nice if they had a potential blocker in hand. We're going to see an 8k swing, opponent respecting the likelihood of 2k, 1k in hand off of the rip there. I didn't get a chance to see the Blackbeard's hand, but this is very tough now. And opponent definitely in the tank here. 5 Dawn open. Didn't get a good look at his hand here, but yeah, now you just kind of have to commit to try to set them to 0. I don't think I see a bow in hand. If there was a bow in hand, definitely would be playing that out right now, but instead just gonna go for the random rip. Does end up pulling up a buggy. Not maybe the worst thing you could see off the top, but hey, it's still a body you can attach 3 Dawn to on the next turn here. And we're gonna go to good old Blackbeard's turn. Blackbeard, does he have the teach? Does he have a way? We're gonna see a 13, which means no teach here, and we're gonna swing both here. And yeah, the good old 14 swing. And opponent just kind of bricked out here. Got a 2k, 2k, 1k, and nothing. Could only counter up to 10k swing. Very unfortunate for the Dofi player. Unfortunately, Blackbeard saw some pretty nice triggers there that helped him out in the mid to late game there, and that cleans up the round. If you enjoy this type of content, definitely subscribe. OP09 comes out soon, and we'll see you in the next video.